Nakuru for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
First things first, there's a perception that bananas can't grow anywhere. Can you help us either demystify that myth?
That is absolutely not true. Like the footage you saw is actually from a farm in Mogotio. And if you visit the region, you'll notice like what is in the farms is sisal. It's actually like kind of a semi-arid area. So using irrigation, we've been able to establish a plantation, and as you saw, even the first bananas are already beginning to put on fruit. So for as long as you are able to supply water and you have access to manure, then bananas literally will grow almost anywhere. Yeah.
Thanks for that clarification. At least our viewers now can say, wherever I am, I can do it.
Yes.
Now let's get into this new technique of technologies around farming of bananas. Of course, we have the conventional kind of varieties. What's the difference with now tissue culture?
You find that tissue culture varieties have specifically been chosen for the advantageous qualities they have. Here we are talking about things like high yield. It will give you a bunch of a bigger size and more weight than the traditional banana.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, you're also sure that the material you're planting is disease-free, it's virus-free. So once you bring in that new material into your farm, first and foremost, it will flourish with the good agricultural practices. Then secondly, and more importantly, it won't introduce disease into an area that was initially disease-free. As opposed to in the traditional method, you'd find like I'd come and visit your farm, and then I see you have a banana somewhere. I take a sucker, I go and plant it in my farm without really knowing the quality of the material that I'm carrying and introducing onto my farm.
And we see a lot of people doing that. Is it safe?
No, it is not safe actually. And even as you had mentioned, with the current rise in the amounts of diseases that are affecting the banana, the best thing for you to do would be to get a certified seed, a tissue culture seedling, which during the process, we actually take it through what is called virus indexing. Once you've multiplied your plants in the lab, you actually pick at random a few and send them to institutions who can look at them and make sure that in a genetic sense they're clean. They don't have fungal infections, they don't have any viral infections. So that even as you introduce them onto your farm and into whatever locality you are, you won't be bringing in pathogens that had started and established somewhere else, and that way you are able to keep your environment clean.
Interesting. Talk to us a little bit more about this new variety, the tissue culture. Because one of the things that farmers have to face is the duration that they have to wait before they can harvest. And also talk to us about the cost of, if I'm interested in doing the tissue culture, how much will it cost me?
Okay. If I can start with the cost, we sell a seedling at 120 shillings. So depending on the size of your farm, in an acre you should be able to comfortably fit in between 400 to 500 plants. The determining factor will be the varieties that you choose. Because tissue culture varieties, you have some which are tall, you have some which are medium, you have some which are short. So the taller varieties actually require a larger space from plant to plant. So with shorter varieties, you'll be able to fit in a larger number of plants onto the same acreage. Then in terms of varieties, if I can mention a few, the tissue culture variety, actually, tissue culture is not a variety as such. We have, like at our lab, we have Grand 9, we have Williams, we have Fia 17, we have Uganda Green, which is a cooking variety. We have Kissing Ombe Giant, Kissing Ombe Dwarf. So basically, these are varieties that have been chosen that for optimum productivity. And the tissue culture process itself is basically you trying, like if I can put in layman's language, to make a photocopy of a plant which you're sure this banana produces well, it is not sick. So you're able to multiply and produce a large number of seedlings from an individual stem. Yes.
And how long does it take to grow compared to the other varieties?
Okay, for the largest determining factor will be the climate, the environment under which you're growing them. But I could give an estimate of say between 12 months to 14 months. With the warmer regions, for as long as there is a lot of water, maturing faster than colder regions. Yeah. So with good agricultural practices, you make sure you water your plants well, add manure every so often, then 12 months to 14 months you should be able to harvest your first crop. Yeah.
Assuming someone has let's say an eighth of a piece of land and they're interested in actually doing this kind of farming, what would it take them in terms of preparing and even buying the seedlings? On average, how would paint for us a picture?
Basically, banana is a very good crop in terms of even the size under which you can establish such an operation. If you have if you have 10 acres, you'll be able to do it. So basically, it will depend on the state that the land is in before you plant. Like, for example, if it's a virgin land, it's bushy, of course you need to like clear the bushes and like kind of plow. Then depending on the variety, for example, if you'd like to plant a tall variety, then you'll dig holes, a spacing of 4 meters apart by 4 meters apart. Then your hole should have dimensions of 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet deep. So basically you'd add manure into your soil, put the manure back into the hole, and then now at that point we advise that you come for the seedlings once you have already finished up with the land preparation. So now you come to us, we give you the seedling on how to plant. We give you like a list of instructions so that even as you go back to the farm, you're able to follow the process. And yeah, basically that's it. It's not complicated. Anybody can plant bananas.
And of course, the next question is there a market?
Yes, there is. Like where we come from in Baringo, Nakuru, Baringo, the bananas which are sold there, some of them actually come from Uganda. So you can imagine if we're actually buying bananas from our neighbors, and yet we have land, now we have even planting materials. It's a venture which I would tell people not to shy away from. Take that step, plant your bananas, it will be a profitable venture.
It's one thing to say there's a market, but are people getting the right fair price when it comes to selling? How much would if I'm selling like to the market, how much would I get per bunch if I'm looking at these new varieties?
In in Mogotio, a bunch you can get up to 1,000 shillings. The bunches will vary in size depending on again how you treat your farm. Are you putting manure? Are you adding water? So a bunch of say 80 to 100 kilos would fetch you up to 1,000 shillings a bunch. So you can imagine if you have it on an acre, that's 400 plants. With each of them giving you 1,000 shillings, and you'll have say 3 to 4 harvests in a year. So it is actually a very profitable venture.
Very profitable.
We've had it in Embu and Meru. It's changing people's lives.
And this new kind of approach to farming, are people embracing it on the ground?
Well, I can say yes and no. There are those who have heard about it. They've interacted with people who have benefited from it, and they're very proactive, and they would want to like come and take up the seedlings and go and plant. And then there are a few who are a bit skeptical, especially with this GMO issue. You find that there is a customer who believes tissue culture is equal to GMO, which is not actually the case. Because when it comes to a genetically modified organism, you have actually added a gene or removed a gene from that plant from a different source. Tissue culture, just as I said, is basically copying an existing plant for you to be able to multiply it in large numbers. And then also another issue that we've had is probably with people who come from areas that don't traditionally grow bananas. So they believe it's like kind of bananas are a central thing, or they only grow here, they only grow here. So with the repeated interactions, we've at least been able to convince them that for as long as you can maintain your farm well, manure, water, then literally bananas will grow almost anywhere.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And my other key area of concern is of course, as a farmer, you should also be prepared for any eventualities. Talk to us about how disease resistance are these kind of varieties, as well as in the event we have varying climatic conditions. What would happen, the worst case scenario?
Okay, with the first thing with diseases, by the time you get the tissue culture seedlings, they are certified as clean. So basically we advise keep your farm under proper conditions. There are things like, for example, moles. Moles love bananas, and you'll find that they're there in some areas, they're not in others. And I won't say that the tissue culture banana is not eaten by moles. So the farm owner will actually have to take that initiative and make sure that you keep your farm clean and do all you can to safeguard them against any like pathogens that would be coming in from the surrounding areas. Then something else.
And climatic conditions.
Climatic conditions, yes, sorry. So bananas are very tolerant to changes in climate. You'll find that if...
A question here coming in from one of our staff members, and she mentions that in Meru County, a lot of people have grown the bananas. And this has sort of saturated the market, because when you go to the market, you find the selling price is not fetching you a good return. And also the other challenge for farmers has been transporting these bananas from the farms to the marketplaces. do you have market linkages that you guys are thinking of establishing, or have you already established them?
Okay, currently what we have been planning for the future is to set up a value addition plant, whereby instead of selling bananas just as the banana fruit or matoke, we actually like mill it into flour, whereby you'll find that the shelf life becomes longer. Then even this issue of you having taken them to the market and you find that you're not able to sell them, there's actually an alternative marketing avenue for you as the farmer. So you'll be able to sell it as fruit, you'll be able to sell it to a factory who would be able to mill it as flour. Then in terms of market linkages and transport, maybe again I would call upon our government to kind of see where these farmers are.
Yeah,
and
the
try
infrastructure
to see,
element.
infrastructure around those areas,
Yeah.
and then set up maybe something like collection centers. It's easier for them to set up a center in one point and have the farmers bring them up to a particular point, and then from that point for them to be carried on a larger scale to wherever it is the market is. So this one will require collaboration between all people in the NGOs, anybody who works in such programs.
Quite moving interview from my side. Personally, I have an interest.
That's good.
And as we wrap up this interview, talk to us about what is the vision of GrowTech Nurseries, because right now you're based in Nakuru. Do you plan on expanding to be able to have should I say centers in different counties?
Yes, we do. Okay, initially when we set up in Nakuru, one of the thoughts was that the other suppliers of tissue culture bananas are all based in Nairobi. So we wanted to do something, at least on the western side of the country, to make it easier for farmers to reach us. And even in terms of training, if somebody wants to come and understand the process, it will be easier for them. And then in addition to that, in Kisii, we are setting up a hardening unit in collaboration with one of the NGOs. So we are able to take the material from the lab there.
Yeah.
We do the hardening on the ground. We are also working with the nursery owners in the area. So they come, we train them on the process, then they're also able to improve their livelihoods. So we are looking to make, if we can have other linkages like that with any other stakeholder in other parts of the country, then at least that way the material, the know-how, the technology will be able to reach a larger number of Kenyans.
And one other last question coming in from one of the viewers, known as Mama Kim. She's asking that when you plant your bananas, at some point there is that aspect of crossbreeding. How do you avoid that, especially when your neighbor has a different variety, you have this other variety? How do you tackle this?
Okay, what happens with banana, basically the genetic material that you have used to source the first banana, as I said, it's literally like a photocopy of the same.
Yeah.
So you went to maybe Kari or wherever, they gave you a material that was good, so you plant the same. So on your farm, you will maintain the same, you don't need to replant every year.
Yeah.
So you retain the same planting material for a period of between 5 years and 7 years for it to maintain the productivity at which you started. After that, we advise that you would clear your farm literally, like dig out everything, remove everything, source for new material again, and replant afresh. Yeah.
Interesting. And finally, I know you get a lot of inspiration from women who have also done well in business. Where do you get your inspiration from?
Tabitha Karanja is one of the highlights. She's a strong woman. I think most of us aspire to be like her. And even on the ground, you'd be surprised. There's some stories that you never get to hear. But in your village, in your homestead, in your estate, you will find a woman who has gone out of her way to change her own life as well as that of the community around. So even as we work with farmers, we hope to be able to empower them so that they can make changes in their own lives and in the lives of others in their communities.
That's a good place to end it. Many thanks for joining us on KTN Business today.
Thank you so much.
We've been speaking there to Joyce Macharia, who works at GrowTech Nurseries. She's actually the founder, if I'm not wrong, together with your husband. And she has interesting perspectives around growing bananas, and she is quite optimistic that there is a ready market. All that the people need to do is get the right materials, as well as put in the right kind of financing so as you can get the best of yields. Well, that brings us to the end of business today for now. My name is Abia Gina. Coming up next is Sophia Wanuna with a News Hour.